Chapter 3, Undercover Christian? Like plenty of people, certainly guys, lust built up in my life all the time, and in the typical scenario, it was a matter of thoughts, sight, or the other way around, and then came temptation to act on it. The people I hung out with often partied with miscellaneous dope, booze, and sex at every chance. Because a couple of them were often dealing various drugs, certainly more than I ever did, parties happened nearly every night. I can't recall how I ended up at the one where I met her, but it was a smaller gathering of hippies where, as usual, I passed out after smoking a load and perhaps mixing with other dope as well. She was super sweet, super pretty, and when I woke up, nobody was left in that place except her, which turned out to be her apartment, just the two of us. She just sat there on a cushion, leaning her back against the wall, staring at me and smiling this shy, cute smile. It was still dark out, but approaching dawn, if memory serves. We talked, and she invited me to bed, and we had sex. So it turned out I basically moved in. I recall my mom asking what I was doing with Susie after she realized what was going on. I'd moved out of the house. And though I'd believed in Jesus by this time, I still had not forgiven my mother for my parents' divorce, her adulteries, nor was I willing to fully surrender to the Lord. So when she made her displeasure known, I bitterly replied, "You are going to preach morality to me?" That was my only response at the time. Months later, I apologized, but not until I'd moved in with the Jesus people in Milwaukee and remembered how I'd treated her. My girlfriend and I had mutual friends, and one of the things we often did that early summer was pile in cars in a van and visit a couple old local gravel pits where springs had formed small lakes. More than not, we'd go at night after drinking or drugging, and some dozen of us would skinny dip for a couple hours. At this point, I was, quote, in love with her, or certainly in love with love, and a partner with a girl who held a day job. And as I was rehearsing and playing in bands and had no certain paycheck or desire to do much but sell a bit of weed and hash, make music and play gigs, this looked like a cool setup to me. From January 3rd of that year on, I had come to truly believe Jesus had died on the cross, was risen from the dead, and that he was my Lord and Savior. Spring was close to ending. A friend of hers and mine and I sat down very quietly, and she asked me if I'd planned on getting a day job to help pay the bills at Susie's place. She was kind, gentle, but brought to my attention that it wasn't right for me to be the regularly loaded and lazy guy. Not her words, but those were the facts. I was the boyfriend who wasn't serious about much, but selfishness and freeloading. I honestly was so full of myself and somewhat high when we had that talk that I didn't get it, nor, of course, did I want to. Years later, I've lost count of the dudes I've met who took the same path I did and wondered why relationships were so difficult. Self-centered, sinful choices finally bring a reaping of what we sow. She was visiting her mom's house, which wasn't far from mine, so she said I could stop by when I was ready after done talking with my mom for a bit, because her mother wouldn't be home for at least a couple hours. When I got there, we went right to her old bedroom, undressed, and not too far along the escapade, her little brother flipped the door open, eyes immediately large and shouting something like, "I'm telling Mom!" She yelled for him to beat it, or she'd beat him, and told me to forget about it. Until about 20 minutes later, when we heard her mother come in the front door and chatter with her kid brother. I literally grabbed my clothes and slipped under the bed on my side near the window. Her mom knocked and through the door asked, "Susie, what's going on?" I think she perhaps opened the door slightly more. I can't say for sure. I was under the bed. And Susie said, "Hey, not only am I of age, but trying to take a nap," and some such blather. Her mom then went elsewhere in the house. A few moments later, I quickly dressed and snuck out her first-floor bedroom window, quickly through the side yard, and buzzed down the street. Soon after this, I decided we needed to talk. And the gist of it was that I had made a commitment to Jesus, and we really should break up because this relationship wasn't pleasing to him, and I knew I needed to change. She wasn't coming to any saving faith in him, and I sure wasn't some sort of catch with all my self-centered choices. We peacefully, mutually, agreed to call it quits.